time, that's fine. But it's just such a beautiful prayer, and it's lovely and can be used as an invocation. So do you all have a copy of that? And if you don't, it's all right because it's so brief. I bet you can just pick it up. Good afternoon, Sandra.
Sorry to be late.
Right.
What is the invocation?
Asato Ma, and it's on the handout of Laghunyasa, but it's also in our chant book.
Okay, all right.
If you can get a hold of the handout, I've put in chant marks. But otherwise, just copy my voice. See how much you can just repeat exactly what you hear and repeat the same progression, the harmonic or the melodic progression. We'll begin with 3 ohms. So go ahead and mute yourselves and chant along with me. I'll chant it all the way through, and then I'll chant it line by line in a call and response way, just to be sure. And then I'll chant the whole verse again. Let's do that. Okay. And hopefully I'll remember what I said. Sandra, if it's easier to find it in the book, just find it in the book. And Asato Ma, if you're looking in the book, it is on page 82. Page 82 in the book. Asato Ma Sadgamaya. Om Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya. Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya. Repeat. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya. Om Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya. Om Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya. Om Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Om Mrityorma Amritangamaya. And now the whole thing. I'll raise the pitch and we'll go a little bit faster. Om. Sorry, all together. Om. Asato Ma Sadgamaya. Om Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya. Om Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya. Om Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya. Om Mrityorma Amritangamaya. And the three-piece chants. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. One more time, the three pieces. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Unmute yourselves. And you're welcome to give me feedback. Let me know if that came well for you, if there's anything to go over or repeat.
I have a question.
Yes,
I
Patty.
think maybe you might have even talked about this before, but I don't remember. Some versions don't have the Om at the beginning of each line. It's just the Om at the beginning and then the 3 lines and then the Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So what's the...
And we'll chant it in a minute without the Oms preceding each line. That was Patty's observation. I remember one of the first times, or maybe it was the last time that we covered this chant in this class, we did it both ways. And I remember it was Val Schneiderman who noticed that when we chant Om before each line, the way we all just did it, for her and for me as well, it gave a feeling of groundedness and a calmness. And the other way, well, let's see what happens. Maybe thoughts will come to you about it once there's a difference. So if there are no questions, let's do it without the Oms. We'll just do the Om before the entire chant, and then the Om before the pieces, before the Shantis. So we'll do the same format. I'll chant it through, and you're welcome to chant it with me, but then we'll do each line call and response, and then we'll chant it all together twice through. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Now with call and response. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya. Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritangamaya Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Can you all hear me? I got an interesting visual. Okay. Now we'll do the whole thing.
Someone just signed on with just a phone call.
Yes, I got the image of a telephone.
Yeah, that's all that was. So welcome.
I just wanted to make sure you could hear me.
Hi,
So we'll just continue. So now let's chant it through with only the Om at the beginning, and we'll chant it through twice. And at the end of the second time, we'll add Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, let's see what happens. Oh, excuse me. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritangamaya. No Om. Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Leslie, I have a question, if you don't mind.
No,
So
not at all.
in that third line, with the Anusvara before Gamaya, we're not changing that, are we?
We're supposed to. So does everybody see on that third line in the middle, Amritam and then Gamaya? But because this is a Vedic chant, we are obliged to, instead of chanting Amritam Gamaya, that nasal sound, Amritam, at the end of Amritam, that changes to a sound rather than at the lips, which is where it goes, that's what the M represents. Instead, we replace that with an NG sound. So it's Mrityorma Amritang Gamaya. Do you understand? So everyone try that. Let's do that third line 3 times without the Om in the beginning. Third line 3 times. Here we go. And really get in Amritang Gamaya. And if it helps you, actually, before we go, if it helps you to make a pencil mark and replace that M with a dot over it with an NG sound, just to remind you, you can do that. Through the study of Vedic chant, when we get used to reading these, sometimes our mouths will automatically, when we see a G or a K with the M in front of it, we will automatically go to the sound. And you can keep the mouth open when you do that. So keep the mouth open at the end of Amritanga. Tanga. Okay, here we go. That line 3 times. I'll just chant Om once so we get our pitch. Om Mrityorma Amritang Gamaya. 2 more times. Mrityorma Amritang Gamaya. Mrityorma Amritang Gamaya. So go ahead and unmute yourselves. Were you able to get that change of sound? It's very similar because they're both nasal sounds. And the reason why we do that is because the following sound is ga, gamaya, and it's more economical, shall we say, for the tongue. It doesn't have to do anything to make the change. It's already there. Mrityorma amritang gamaya. Whereas before, amritam gamaya, there's a change that could become awkward, especially if we chant it fast, quickly. Thanks, Elizabeth. That's important. So who behind the phone symbol? 191797.
Oh, yeah,
that's
Corey. But,
oh, hello, Corey.
I'm sorry, I had to mute her, and I don't know how to unmute her, and because she's just calling in
Corey,
from her
do you know how to unmute yourself?
It's just on her phone, so I don't know.
I see, that's why. Okay. There, you look like you're unmuted. Hello and welcome.
Hi, thank you. Do you want me to mute?
Not yet. Just let's see if you do. Welcome, and were you able to get any of that chanting, Corey?
Yeah. Yes, I did.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't stay on the whole time though. I have to leave earlier, but thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's all right. We've got people coming and going all the time, so.
Thank you.
Do you all feel secure enough with that or comfortable enough with that chant that we could leave it now and move on? Or would anyone like to be heard? Okay, a thumbs up to move on, unless anyone wants to be heard. Okay, so can you get the the handout that we just sent you today, it has actually the two that we worked on last week. It's Bhagavad Gita, and it's still chapter 2, verses 47 and 48, which we did cover last week, but we're going to also review them. And I'm adding another one because I love the feel of this one. So does everyone have this handout? Okay. Let's look at this third one from chapter 4, verse 24. And I took the liberty of copying out some explanations and translations for you. I'll chant it for you once. Om Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam Brahmaivatena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. Now, I may change the melody because what came out of my mouth wasn't what I intended. For some reason, it went that way. So it has a lot of Brahma and Arpanam, a lot of ums and ms, which are so resonant. This is a very highly resonant chant. So I'll just offer Graham Schweig's translation, and then feel free to read the rest in your own time. Brahman is the ritual instrument. Brahman is the offering, which is poured by Brahman into the fire of Brahman. Then as we look down at the next excerpt, S. Radhakrishnan he is translating Brahman to mean God. Some of us might have a problem with that because it sounds awfully theistic. But Brahman, it's mentioned in many of the Upanishads. And I'm particularly fond of the Mandukya Upanishad, where the fourth aspect of Om is discussed as being Brahman, that eternal source, if you will. But it shows up in a lot of our chants. So let's have a go and start chanting it. So, and I'll do my best to remain consistent with a melody. Okay, here we are. So go ahead and mute yourselves and chant with me. I'll chant the entire verse, and then we'll chant each line in call and response and see what happens. Om Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam Brahmaivatena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. I'm in trouble because I won't be consistent with the melody. So I'm going to make it monotonal. Okay, here we go. It's a call and response, first line. Om Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Om Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam Brahmaiva tena gantavyam. Brahmaiva tena gantavyam. Brahma karma samadhina. Brahma karma samadhina. Before you unmute yourselves, let's chant in monotone the entire verse. Om Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam Brahmaiva tena gantavyam. Brahma karma samadhina. Kindly unmute yourselves.
Do you think you could just do it in the whole thing just one more time? I feel like
Yes.
that would just be one
Okay,
more.
so go mute yourselves again. I'll go slowly, but no call and response. Let's see what happens. Om Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagnau Brahmana Hutam Brahmaiva tena gantavyam Brahma karma samadhina. Now
Thank you.
unmute. How was that, Patty? Was that
That
helpful?
was, yeah, that was very helpful. Just the one more time.
My apologies for not finding a consistent melody. I had one in my head, but I didn't rehearse it enough, and then other things spilled out. And I've heard it so many different ways. Is anyone here familiar with this verse? Have you studied it? No one? Everyone?
I think sometimes it's used like as a grace before eating in India.
Yes, yes. I met a Swamin once, and we were in a group, and we were having supper, and he led us in that. And I didn't realize we could do that, but that's what we did. So it is like saying grace before eating, before a meal. The repetition of Brahma and the mms and the havir, that ha again, Brahma now. And there's a lot of the vowel and ah. Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. So, and with that vowel the short we don't have to do anything except allow the lips to part and the mouth to be slightly open, but there's no shaping necessary. There's just letting the sound out. And then we seem to shape the sounds by changing the shape of our mouths to come around these different sounds. And I'm wondering, did you find that challenging, pleasurable, something you didn't like, or is it too soon to tell whether you like it or not? Just in terms of the feeling it evokes.
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it too.
It's a nice one to chant.
When it's said it's grace, is it just kind of chanted without a melody?
No, we're doing it without a melody because I couldn't come up with a
Well, I
consistent.
understand that, but I wondered if when it's used in that way as like before a meal, if it's used with a melody, or if it's just chanted like a prayer is, there's no melody to it before eating.
Oh, no, if this was chanted and there was a melody, I think. We could try saying it. Let's try saying it just to feel the difference between chanting it. We just chanted and you could feel a particular something. But if we were to say it, let's try that. So mute yourselves and let's see what happens. Om. Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. It's kind of like giving an explanation about something, or it's like telling a story. Could be like telling a bedtime story. Would you like to chant it one more time before we move on?
Yeah, I think that one word, gantavyam, those are tricky syllables to put together. Gantavyam.
Gantav. Sounds like you have it. Yeah. So the ga emanates from the throat. Ga, and then the tongue comes to the teeth for ta, ganta. And then there's a v sound. And then right away there's a ya. Yum. Yum. Yeah. So everybody just do that. Just chant, just say Vyam, vyam, vyam. And now say the word gantavyam, gantavyam. Does that do it for you?
Yeah, that is helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. It helps to get the tongue placed. And because there are newcomers, at least to me, some, Andy, you may already know this, and I don't know what Corey's background in chanting is, but in Sanskrit, it's always very good to keep in mind the 5 mouth positions. So every time we encounter a sound, the mouth has to respond immediately. It has to go to the corresponding mouth position. So that there's the throat, ka, ga, ma. Then there's the soft palate, cha, e, cha, ja. Then there's the third mouth position, which is the hard palate, where we employ the tip of the tongue to contact and say na, as in the word prana, or to roll our R's, ra, 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 or simply say pra. That's with the tongue quite far behind the teeth. And then the 4th mouth position is at the teeth. So place the tip of the tongue right at the teeth, and we get a sound like ta, or da, or ta, or dha, or namaste, namaste. So the sa, that sibilant, is also at the teeth. And then finally at the lips, pa, pala, ba, bala, ba, brahma, bra, pa, ba, ma, ma. And then we get other sounds, such as, everyone repeat after me for a moment. I, a, ya. I, a, ya. R, a, ra. R, a, ra. Lr, a, la. Lr, a, la. U, a, wa. Or va. U, a, va. Va. Now one last time. Gantavyam. Gantavyam. Okay. So now I'm going to see if a melody comes out. I'll go slowly and see if we can just somehow be together. Here we go. Om Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam Brahmaivatena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam Brahmaivatena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. Were you able to follow the melody a little bit? I think that was the one I meant to do. Would you like to continue with this, or do you feel a satisfaction and appropriately buzzed? I feel a little buzzy myself.
Leslie, can you just go over the Asam Adina? It sounds like we're putting a different, even though the A's both have the hyphen on the top, it seems like we're putting a different emphasis on those two A's. Can you just do that again?
Samadhina. Samadhina.
Okay.
And it's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up. It's a word with emphasis in the samadhina. 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4 syllables. The sa takes the least emphasis, and the d has to be breathalized, if you will. So we have to take that from the abdomen. We use abdominal support whenever we come across an H sound. So if we let the abdomen go in quickly, we get a D. So in the end, we get samadhina. So the E is short, but still effort in that. Samadhina, samadhina, samadhina. Is that coming?
Yeah, it's great. Thanks, Leslie. I think it was just me. I was dropping the A on the end instead of keeping the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Samadhina. All right. Turn the page over if you have that. And the Bhagavad Gita 2 and 47 and 48, 247 and 48, which we did last week. And because we did it last week, would anyone else like to lead us in it? Not yet. Okay, but soon. Anybody? Harmony, Patty,
Maybe if you did it once, I could remember the tune, but I
Okay.
can't. Like,
So we'll
recall
go
it right now.
through, we'll be ambitious and we will go through all two or both verses. Okay. Om Karmanyevadhikaraste Ma Phaleshu Kadachana Ma Karma Phala Heturbhur Ma Te Sangostva Karmani Yogastaha Kuru Karmani Sangam Tyaktva Dhananjaya Siddhya Siddhyoho Samo Bhutva Samatvan Yoga Uchyate. Sorry, a little glitch there. One more time. Om Karmanyevadhikaraste Ma Phaleshu Kadachana Ma Karma Phala Heturbhur Ma Te Sango Stva Karmani Yogastaha Kuru Karmani Sangam Tyaktva Dhananjaya Siddhya Siddhyoho Samo Bhutva Samatvan Yoga Uchyate. For those of you who were here last week, was it familiar? Could you wrap your mouth around the sounds? And also, I'd like to hear from those of you who are just here for the first time. How was this for you? We can always do call and response, but if you were able to join in, that's great. And did some sounds come more easily than others?
It
Love
came
to hear what
pretty
you have.
easily because there's a lot of familiar words in it, so that's helpful.
Mm. Yeah, the definitions of yoga and that we're not to be attached to the fruits of our efforts. Yeah. It's no accident that in any yoga practice, no matter who our teachers are, we'll come across these two sutras. Yeah. Familiarity helps. Does anybody have any questions or areas that you'd like to work on for chanting? And is anyone ready to lead us?
I'll try 47.
Okay.
I do think
Someone-
48 is significantly more tricky.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
I
And
don't
would
know.
anyone like to try 48? Okay, we could do that one together.
I can try it.
Okay,
I
Harmony.
don't know if I'll do
Okay.
it right, but I'll try
Okay.
it.
Okay. Yeah. No right or wrong, right? There's only sound. There's only articulation in the 5 mouth positions. Okay, Patty, hit it.
Om Karmanyevadhikaraste Ma paleshu kadachana. Ma karma palahe turbur. Ma te sangos vakarmani.
That's lovely. Thank you. Go ahead, Harmony.
Yogashtana kuru karmani sangam tyaktva tanam jaya siddhya siddhyo samabhutva samatva yoga uchyate.
Good. Thank you. You both have such beautiful voices. 248 is difficult. And actually 247, Patty, again, the ma te sango, you don't have to rush through the te because it has, every long vowel takes two measures, two matras. So in Sanskrit, in chanting and also in speech, a vowel can be short or long. And if it's short, it takes on one matra or one beat. And if it's a long vowel, it takes two beats. It's twice as long. And the letter E represents the sound A. So it's ma te sangostva karmani. Do that, Patty, once for us.
So basically all of those, well, no, never mind. Okay, I'm just going to try that. I was trying to, make sense of it. Okay. Ma te sangostva karmani.
Yes, thank you. That was it. Yeah.
I even had a note from last time about the E and te, but there's so many notes all over my paper that I couldn't read them all before I chanted.
And harmony is just lovely. I just think that just confidence will come. And just remember that pitfall of the STH. We need to look closely. And if the S and the T do not have a dot underneath it, then it's a dental sound, which means, so in that first line, it's always yoga staha, staha, as in sama sthiti. There should not be an SH sound there. And then let's go to the third line. Siddhya siddhyoho. That is probably the hardest phrase in the whole verse. So everyone, let's chant the last two lines of 248. Twice through. Siddhya siddhyoho samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Siddhya siddhyoho samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. So I noticed when I chanted it on the last line, that anusvara at the end of samatvam, instead of chanting samatvam yoga uchyate, I changed that M to a nya sound, which is in the soft palate at position 2, because that's where the tongue will have to be in order to create the sound y that comes right after that. So therefore, I ended up with samatvam yoga uchyate. And just to recall from a couple of weeks ago, Harmony, I remember you were commenting on how we're never supposed to have two vowels together. But in this last line, this is one of the exceptions. Yoga uchyate. They have to be separated. But you're right. so many times when we see two vowels, we have to blend them, but not here. I can't remember what the grammatical rule is as to why, but it's there, it's in there somewhere. And then the second line, sangantyatva. And what was lovely, I keep calling you Melody. Harmony was that you took your time with the nasals. But there it might be easier if that anusvara is also changed to a dental, because that's where the tongue has to go next in tyatva. So sangantyatva, sangantyatva. They're making some sense.
Yeah, so you kind of don't pronounce the M so much. It sort of blends more.
Yeah, not always. And this is not Vedic chanting, and I'm sort of left in the dust about whether we're supposed to or not, but it's always acceptable to make the change to accommodate the tongue for the next sound. It just eliminates any awkwardness, and it helps to promote elegance in the way we let the sounds roll out of the tongue. Would anyone else like to chant either or both of these? Elizabeth, are you game to do both verses?
Okay.
Or
I'll
just
try
one?
it. I'll try it.
Okay.
Om Karmanyeva Dikaraste Ma Paleshu Kadachana. I lost the melody to this, and I had trouble with it over the week too. I lost it.
Okay, actually, everybody, thumbs up if you liked her melody. I did. It might be confusing to others, but it's not shruti, it's smriti. It's in the smriti category. So when we chant, the shruti are the Vedic chants and the early chants, that which was passed down and heard from the sages and the seers. But we're in the land of smriti. So we're in the Bhagavad Gita. So let's just say you willfully, that you preferred your harmony, your melody over mine, which is fine.
I don't know if I could repeat it.
You know what? Try to take the worry out, start at the beginning, and just let the sounds flow.
Okay. Om Karmanyeva Dikaraste Ma Paleshu Kadachana Ma Karma Palahe Turbur Ma Te Sangos Dvakarmani Yogas Tahakuru Karmani Sangan Tyaktva Dananjaya Sidhya Sidhyoho Samo Bhutva Samatvang Yoga Uchyate.
Okay, that was a mouthful. That was great. Just, the same in the last line of verse 247. You rush the te. That seems to be a natural inclination. We are all doing that. Ma te sangos dvakarmani.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Newcomers, how are you doing? Andy, and is Corey still here? Okay, I think she may have left. Okay. How is this coming for you?
It might be a couple of months before I'm willing to step up and do one for you guys, but
That's all right. I just wanted to make sure that it still sounds like Sanskrit to you and not Greek.
no, it sounds like Sanskrit to me. I have had some official training with Manorma, and I work with another Sanskrit instructor every week, but we don't usually do a lot of Sanskrit. So,
Yeah.
but it's really hard for me to pick up on it. It's just not doesn't click with me for some reason.
It's all right. It just, a lot of it just takes, it takes repetition. And I think, you know, the people in India, they started when they were young children, and they might have met at least once a week, but probably every day. You know, they would meet every day and do something, and that's really helpful. That happens. And Manorama was, after Vyas Houston, Manorama was my first teacher. She brought me into the Sanskrit grammar. She's wonderful. Let's move on to Laghunyasa. Unless anyone else does anybody else have any questions or comments on these two verses, or the one we did earlier, any of the 3 Bhagavad Gita verses? Any observations or any questions? Or are you ready to move on to Laghunyasa? Okay, great. So what I'd like to do is go through all of this, the whole thing. Because Patty, is this class being recorded?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay. So what I'd like to do is go through the whole thing, and that way, if you want to download this class and just work on these chants, that was my thought. So I thought I would try to push through and just go with it. So I'll chant all the way through, and then if there's time at the end, we can talk about some of the meaning. Okay, here we go. Om, oh, excuse me, and chant along with me if you like. Okay. Om Agnirme Vachi Shritaha Vaghradaye Hridayamayi Aham Amrite Amritam Brahmani Vayurme Prane Shritaha Prano Hridaye Hridayamayi Aham Amrite Amritam Brahmani Suryo me chakshushi shritaha Chakshur hridaye Hridayamayi Aham Amrite Amritam Brahmani Chandrama me manasi shritaha Mano hridaye Hridayamayi Aham Amrite Amritam Brahmani Disho me shrotre shritaha Shrotra gung hridaye Hridayamayi Aham Amrite amritam brahmani. Apo me retasi shritaha. Excuse me, I made a mistake. Apo me retasi shritaha. Reto hridaye. Hridayamayi. Aham amrite. Amritam brahmani. Prithivi me sharire shrita. Sharira gung hridaye. Hridayamayi. Aham amrite. Amritam brahmani. Oshadhi vanaspatayo me loma sushritaha. Lomani hridaye. Hridayamayi. Aham amrite. Amritam brahmani. Indro me bale shritaha. Balagung hridaye. Hridayamayi. Aham amrite. Amritam brahmani. Parajanyo me murdhni shritaha. Murdha hridaye. Hridayamayi. Aham amrite. Amritam brahmani. Ishano me manyao shritaha. Manyur hridaye. Hridayamayi. Aham amrite. Amritam brahmani. Atma ma atmani shritaha. Atma hridaye. Hridayamayi. Aham amrite. Amritam brahmani. Punarma atma punarayuragat. Punah prana punarakutamagaat. Vaishvanaro Rashmi bhirva vridhanaha. Antastishtatvamritasya gopaha. Well, I don't know, Patty. There were many places where I would have preferred that I had done it differently, but basically the tune is there. To go over the meaning, many of us have started this. So just to review quickly, Agni is the fire. Agnir me, so the fire in me, the voice. Vachi, my voice, my speech. Shritaha, may it be strengthened and nurtured. The voice, my speech, my voice is in my heart. And then that refrain, we keep repeating. Hridayam mayi. My heart is in me. Aham amrite. I am in the amritam, the nectar of immortality. That nectar is in Brahman. And this was another reason why I wanted to introduce that chant from the Bhagavad Gita, because it's Brahman. And it's the more we can chant those terms, the more we'll become comfortable with them. Then number 2, Vayurme, the wind in me, fortifies the breath. The breath in me, I am in the nectar is in Brahman. So the Vayu, the wind is helping my breath. Then we come to the sun, which helps to heal and nurture my chakshu. Chakshu is the eyesight. So the sun helps my eyes. Then the moon, Chandra, Chandrama, the moon in me, supports and nurtures my mind. May my mind be strong and lucid. And that mind is in my heart. The heart is in me, etc. And then Disho me shrotre shritaha. Dishaha, directions, the directions. North, south, east, west, up, down, forward, back, right side, left side. The directions. And may the directions help me with my hearing, the ears. So in this chant, the ears and the hearing, the sense of hearing is associated with directions. Apo me retasi. Retaha, the semen, the bodily fluid, life-giving bodily fluid. Apaha, is water. So water, regenerative fluids. And that is also in me and in my heart. Prathivi me sharire shrita. Prathivi means the earth. And sharira is the body. So the earth for my body or in my body supports my whole body, the earth. And that body of mine is in my heart, etc. And then verse number 8, O Shadi Vanas Patayo Me. O Shadi, the plants, the herbs, that which grows out of the ground and has roots. And they're green usually, they have green leaves. Lomasu, the hairs, the hair on the body. So the plants are related to the hair on the body in this chant. So may the plants nourish the hair on my body. Indro me bale shritaha. Indra is a lord, a masculine deity associated here with strength. He's often the thunderbolt carrier, the thunderbolt god. Here, Indra will give me strength. And that strength is in my heart. Then Parajanyo me murdni shritaha. I think that has to do with the head of something. Elizabeth, kindly chime in, or anyone, Andy, with your Sanskrit background, or anyone at all, if these words are familiar to you, because this one always escapes me. I'll have to go back and look it up. Parajanya Murdni. I think Murdni has to do with the head of something. And to go further, Ishano me manyao shritaha. Manyur Hridaye. Manyuhu. Here again we have the mind. Ishaha. So the Lord. So the Lord of something is important here for manya, manyao, thinking, the mind. And the Atman, Atmama, Atmani Shritaha, the eternal self. May that eternal self help myself. Atma. Punarma Atma. Punaha. Punaha means again. So again, myself. Again and again, myself. Again and again, myself. Puna pranaha. And here we have prana again. And we had prana in the second verse. Vayur me prane shritaha. But here it is again. Again, my breath. So myself, my breath, may they be nourished again and again. Vishvam means universe. So Vaishvanaro, Vishnu, Lord of the universe. Vaishvanaro, Rashmi Bhirva, Vridhanaha, the universe. And Rashmi, I want to say it's heap, but it could also be one of the words for the sun. I will go back, I will do my homework. But it's the universe. Vaishvanaro Rashmi Bhirva Vridhanaha. Holding. Dha means to hold, as in dharana, to hold one's focus on something. So Vridhanaha. So this verse is talking about all, again and again, may myself, may the self, the eternal self and my individual self be nourished. And again, my breath. And then the universe, may the universe hold all that is me, possibly. And antastishtat vamritasya gopaha. Gopa, protect. Gopa, as in Gopala, Lord Krishna, the cowherder. And pa means to protect. Go is the cow. So Gopaha. Interesting. This was pre-Krishnavite. This chant is earlier, but there it is. There's the Gopa. To protect. Antastishtat. Antaha, that which goes in between, inside things. So maybe the internal stability. Tishtati. Tishtati means to stand, to be stable. So maybe this has something to do with the internal stability. I have to go to my teachers and my sources because I don't want anyone to be appalled if I am, tearing this meaning apart. It's not easy, to be sure, to extract the exact meaning, the exact intention of these chants. It's hard for us to put our heads to put ourselves into the minds of these people back then. Elizabeth, because you and I have studied together and you've studied a great deal with Desikachar and in that tradition, do you have anything to add or to refute or correct?
I just thought I'd have a couple different translations of this that I go through and just send them to you and see what you thought about them.
That would be wonderful.
I don't have them in my brain.
Yeah. But for the most part, this chant is, we are imploring all of the elements to help us with all the various detailed aspects of our being. And the explanation that I put in the top is what came right out of our chant book that we use, that Desikachar created, this beautiful chant book entitled Mantra Valli. So this chant, it says here, this chant entreats the natural elements to sustain the organs and functions of the human system. So that's what we're doing. And it can be chanted by or to assist persons suffering from ill health. So we want to maintain good health.
Leslie, can you just say the, is it Tatireya, the name of the, where it comes from, the Vedic chant? Like right at the top, contained in the, how do you say that?
Yes, the Taitiriya. Okay. All right, everybody, repeat after me. Tai.
Tai.
Tai. And then we have a double T there. So it's Taitiriya. Taitiriya. And then to go on, I'll start with Taitiriya. The Taitiriya Brahmana or Brahmana. I've been learning from Edwin Bryant and also from Bob Gilbo, who isn't here today, that Brahman. You notice when we've been chanting the Brahman, the ma comes before the ha, but the spelling is always the ha before the ma. And when we speak, we can honor the right spelling. The Taitiriya Brahmana, we can say. Kartika. Kartika. That's an interesting word to pronounce. Ka, long ah, the ka. And then we have the ka, that T with a dot under it, which is telling our tongue to move its very tip back to the hard palate. Ka, 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 ka. So we have a dental ta in the beginning of that. No, I'm sorry, we have the ka, we have the throat, ka, and then ki is also breathalized. It's a mahaprana sound, so we have ki. So can you all find that third mouth position? Andy, for sure, if you've studied with Manorama, you know that third mouth position, right? So if you're a little unsure, everyone take the tip of the tongue to the teeth and scrub your gums up the vertical slope. And then right when it comes to a pocket there, have your tongue be there and then release it down and say, ta. Now, take the tongue to the same place and release it down and say, but with a breath and mahaprana and say, te. And we end up with kartika, kartika, kartika. Do you have any desire you wish to express before we close? Kayena Vaca, and my apologies, if you have the book, it's on page 90 something. 92, I think it was. 97, excuse me, if you have the book. Kshama Prarthana. And this is a good chant to ask for forgiveness. Certainly I need to ask for some forgiveness. So I'll just start chanting it and join in when you can. Kayena Vaca Manasendriyairva Buddhyatmana Va Prakrite Swabhavat Karomi yadyak sakalam parasmai Narayana yeti samarpayami. And then what I don't have in the book is this. Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamastu. And because you don't have it in front of you, I'm going to repeat that. Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamastu. So one more time from the beginning. Om Kayena Vaca Manasendriyairva Buddhyatmana va Prakrite Swabhavat Karomi yadyak sakalam parasmai Narayana yeti samarpayami Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamastu. So unmute yourselves if you like, say goodbye, or if you have any comments at all, please feel free to say something.
Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you.
You're welcome,
Thank
Lisa.
you.
Have a lovely day. Have a beautiful
Yeah,
day.
see you.
Thank you,
See you.
Leslie.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Namaste.
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 Bye.
Thank
Thank you
you.
all. Bye-bye.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. Oh, and it's down to we three.
Yes.